Hello, everyone. How are you doing today, tonight, this evening? I'm so glad that you are here and know that you have joined the Power of Transformation broadcast. And I'm so grateful to have you join us tonight. I'm thankful because, we're here on another Wednesday. Everything's going well. I just feel like that we're going to have another great discussion. Now, I want to know how many of you got snow? Because we did. We got snow here. So because we got snow, I was a little taken aback by the snow. I love snow. I absolutely love it. So of course I'm out there, looking at it, but I am not out there in it because it's not something that I particularly like to be in. But I love the snow. I appreciate the snow. So I hope you've had a good day, and I'm hoping that you have been safe, because if you have been safe, then that means that you are happy to see us tonight and happy to join us. We are, as I said earlier, I'm Dr. Paula Obi, and you in the transformation broadcast. And I will tell you, the power of transformation is something that means a lot to me. We this month have dedicated our conversation to finance. So as we do every single week, we want to text our friends and we want to tag them. And we want to tell them that the Power of Transformation broadcast is on and they don't want to miss it. And I will do the same thing. I will tag them and text them. And then we're going to be right back. Okay? See you soon. Bye bye. Hi, I'm back. I was like looking around a little earlier. There was some strange things going on my phone because people will text me and say, "Are you on? Paul, are you on?" I'm like, "Yes, we are here." I'm tagging and texting and talking. As I said earlier, this entire month we've been talking about finances. The topic has been Let's Talk Finances, and we have someone who is a financial guru. I call her financial guru, and the ambassador of finance. And she has been our special guest and will continue to be our special guest in the series. I just feel like this is one area where a lot of people need to hear from someone they can trust. And she's a perfect person to do that. So we're going to bring her in. Her name is Noel. She's a good friend of mine. And have her come on. Hi, Noel.
Hi, Paula.
Well, we're back.
Yes.
And, I just want to thank you because I know this is not an easy topic and people are, planning some things and they want their life, financial life to just increase in value. We've talked about it as being a perfect time to have this discussion. Wouldn't you say so?
Oh, I couldn't agree more because it's after the holidays. Everyone spent probably either more or a lot of money. And so it's the perfect time where it was like, oh, I need to do a reset. I want to do those. I know you don't like hearing this word. I need to do those New Year's resolutions. You don't like it. That's a matter of terms. Everybody wants to hit that reset button right about now. So this is a perfect time to start speaking about finances and what we need to do.
Absolutely. Income tax season's here, et cetera, et cetera. So what this show has given me the opportunity to do is go back and do my analysis. And, I put some sticky notes on some areas and I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready to move forward where I am. I'm ready to keep the train moving forward. We've talked about the budget and I'm still thinking about the finance success plan. I'm calling it FSP. Don't know if that works.
I'm liking it.
Okay. Because it's got finance, success, plan. I think it's cuter than budget.
I like it.
Okay, so and we can use the acronym FSP. This is my 2025 FSP.
I think I'm gonna change all mine to FSP.
Yeah, you can have that. You can buy, and it just makes me kind of feel good to know that it includes all of the items that are going to make me successful in my financial area. Honey, that sounds good to me.
I love it. You said you're going to come up with a more friendly, user-friendly word. You've done it.
I did it. And it's a plan. So it's all encompassing. So I'm so happy. So we've done a really good job of setting the stage. Last two programs, we have really set the stage. We've told some like personal stories. I'm sure I'll have more
Okay.
because when we tell our personal stories, I think it really makes a connection. I know there's some things that I've gone through I probably will never tell, but there's some things that
Me
I've gone
both.
through that I will share because I think it will help others and empower others. So tonight we're going to move the conversation to the next topic. We kind of introduced it last time in our
Mhm.
broadcast, and you did a wonderful job of saying, we need to take care of those that we love.
Yes, agreed.
And what did you mean by that?
Too many times, I think we just don't think it's going to happen to us. We think we have more time. And we think we have more time to spend with our loved ones, more time to get our affairs in order. And everything's just going to be fine because if we don't think about it, it's out of sight, out of mind. We don't think about it. It's just going to be okay and it's going to work itself out. And that's not always the case. We don't always have more time. I mean, you asked if it was snowing in who else was it snowing? And it snowed in the state of Georgia. I don't know how many accidents it caused because, we're not used to snow.
Right, right,
And I'm
right.
sure something might happen somewhere in the state of Georgia that was unexpected. And so we need to do these things. When we think about this stuff, we need to push through because once again, it's coming out of place out of love. And we need to make these hard decisions and hard choices now for our loved ones. So that way, when something does occur, we have made it easier for them.
Yes, absolutely. And I love the fact that you're coming from a conversation of love because there's so many different ways in which you can show love. And the one way is preparation in this area. So guess what? We're going to talk insurance.
It's a dreaded topic. Nobody really, I mean, a lot of people understand the importance of it, and some people just they don't want to
Yeah,
speak it because they think if they speak it, something's gonna happen. And so,
right, right. And however, I can give you and I listed all of the folks that I know or have been acquainted with in the past who were not prepared and what it caused, the impact that it caused on the family. So it may be not a topic that you want to talk about, but Paula and Noel are going to introduce it to you gently. You can go back and look at it several times and know we're coming from a place of love and a place of preparation. Share it, tag, send it to your friends, send it to your family members. This broadcast is here to help you. This is our calling, and we're just going to do it in love, right? Not Noel?
oh, absolutely, because we've all been there. We've made mistakes. We've done them. We did it ourselves. And I just want to ask you, Paula. We're talking about insurance. How many family members who have had to do a GoFundMe just because they could not afford burial, they can't afford the expenses that are coming with it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's when you are sitting down with them, because of course in the area, my father's been a pastor. I've met with all kinds of people for years, and some are prepared and some are not. Even before the GoFundMe, there was
Right.
a GoFundMe around the family. You know,
Ex-
go to each family member. They were the GoFundMe plan, but look at the ones who have to have a GoFundMe, or they have to postpone a lot of things to
mhm.
even make it happen because they were prepared, because they weren't living in a culture, and I'm guilty of living in a culture of being this kind of prepared. So it is important. We're going to keep talking about it until people understand that
Agree.
this is another way for you to just show love.
Sure. Yes. And it's the best kind of love because when you think about it, if or when something was supposed to has happens to you, you could possibly be changing your family's legacy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And let that sink in because
Let us
that's huge.
let's think about that for a minute. That was perfect. That's amazing. You are here to protect your family's legacy. You're
Mhm.
here to protect and love your family. And I believe if you think about it as protecting the legacy, then you'll be more open to conversations. You'll be more open to how can I protect my family and their legacy and the dreams and the visions that you have
Mhm.
in the event of. You may never have to worry about it, but there's a probability that someone might. And we can go ahead and start the love conversation now in this area. Thank you. That was great. Protecting the legacy. I like that. I think, in a comment, we need to put that somewhere. Let's protect the family's legacy. I like that, Noel.
Yeah, and it's instrumental to have someone there to guide you, to help you. We're not only here to just here's some life insurance. If something was to happen, we're here to guide you through your stages of grief, through your stages of life, to say, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to repair you. These are different things we can give you, different options to have. Let's make that money last. Let's see where it needs to go right now, immediately, and let's see what we can do with the funds afterwards to continue to let it grow, to continue to keep it growing and having it. So that way you're not just, at that point of grief, you want to make sure you have that person who's stable. I think you mentioned something about making sure you don't put all your money in the ground. I think you made a comment.
Yeah, there was a family member who said that they didn't want it all to go in the ground. And it really struck me as to what that really meant. What it meant was, I'm trying to leave you in a place where you won't have to worry as much.
Right.
However, put it in the ground, you're not going to have it. So it was a great conversation. I've actually had 2 or 3 conversations where people said that. Mm-hmm. So it really makes sense. And sometimes the family members who are here making decisions during that time, they are distraught. And that's the reason why you want to have some preparation, because you're in a difficult place, and you're trying to get through it. Having at least this type of preparation will, just alleviate some of the pressure that you're under, because you're going to be under quite a bit of pressure, having to make a lot of decisions. So we want to make sure that we have the plan that allows us to use those funds as a tool and a stepping stone moving forward.
Exactly. And so, you have to be careful, because there's different products out there. So you have to make sure that, you get the product that is right for you and your family. Right. And so, of course, you're going to hear a lot of positive and negative about all kinds of insurance. But the point is, you sit down with somebody and that you make that decision with them. You don't let them just make the decision for you. Because I find a lot of the times where people just, I don't know what I have. Well, did you not sit down with the person? I did, but they just, we just signed up, and they have no clue what they have, if it's right for them, if it's enough coverage for them, if they should get more. And so these are the tough conversations that when we sit down with people, okay, let's really dig in deep and find out what you need. And this is the point where I need you to be truthful and honest with me. Yes. Whether you want to or not. I need to know if you have debt. I need to know how much that mortgage is. I need to know if you want to send your kids, pay for your kids' education. And these are the conversations we need to have, where people don't want to talk about the finance. They don't want me to be nosy and be in their business. And, it's the same thing with the doctor. If you don't tell your doctor all your symptoms, they're not going to be able to treat you fully.
Yeah, they're going to misdiagnose you, and then you're going to have a problem. And I think that's why we wanted to do this show on a series, because we knew that, power transformation is equivalent to change. And we wanted people to change their mindset and really embrace the concepts and embrace the knowledge and use the knowledge to help them move forward in their family planning and everything. This is a critical part that we want to ease them into, and maybe return to at another time, just so that they'll be able to embrace the reality. It's not easy, but we definitely want them to do that.
Agreed. And so, finding that right item for you is going to be the best possibility. And so Absolutely. Do your research kind of ahead of time. And I can't stress this enough. I always tell people, have those questions for me ready ahead of time, before I get there. Because once we sit down, we're going, and you're going to completely forget. So I always recommend have those questions ready ahead of time, so that way you're going to remember. And and then it's like, oh shoot, I forgot to ask that question. Oh shoot, I forgot to ask that question.
Right.
It's just, being prepared ahead of time. And so one of the insurance is just plain old simple term insurance.
Okay.
It's for a certain amount of time. You get it for, up to 30 years or a certain amount of time. And it's going to be a lot cheaper than other products are out there. And it's good for most people. So
Okay.
you, okay. So say it's the same like going to a gas station. It's the same gas station, same two gas stations. It's going to be $5 per gallon here, $2 per gallon. Same gas, same product. Where are you going to get it from? Yeah, think about it that way. So you got to be careful and make sure you're not overpaying for insurance, because with term insurance, usually if you get a little bit lower rate, you can get more coverage. And that's what I find is where people have, they're paying the premium, they have a different product, and so they're overpaying, where I can come in and say, hey, let's look at getting you more value for your buck.
That's great. That's perfect. I love that. So term insurance, that's something that we're going to hear it said more than once. We're going to revisit, but term insurance. Okay, great. I think, I mean, that's a great way to embrace it. This is what it is. This is how I can help you,
There's
etc.
no bells and whistles.
No
It's
bells and
a simple
whistles.
product.
Simple product, simple
Mhm.
payment, auto pay, keep it moving.
Auto pay. We love auto pay. Keep it moving.
Yeah.
One thing I do like to have with term insurance, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called term insurance with living benefits. Have you heard of that?
I have never heard that. I'm telling you, I'm the one that's learning everything. So I'm like, sponge. No, no, never heard of it.
I love this product. I have this product on myself personally.
Really? Okay.
So, yes, with living benefits, it gives you the opportunity to get a portion of your policy while you are still living. So, if something were to happen to you, if you got bad news, you had cancer, if you got into a bad car accident, you can't perform 2 out of the 6 living functions like feed yourself, bathe yourself, clothe yourselves, it kicks in depending on the severity. If you have a stroke, and it has all different options that if something was to happen to you, you get that money now. Because top 5 reasons why people go bankrupt: medical bills.
Absolutely. I want you to say that again. It doesn't matter what age you are, those
Nope.
hospital costs, fees, whatever are the same for everyone. Now, I could give you a story that, I'm dealing with right now, but a lot of it is what you just said. They're costly and you have to take care of them.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
We had a person that we worked with, and he had the living benefits product, and he ended up having a stroke, and he was in the hospital for 2 weeks. um he had a policy, and he wasn't thinking about it, and so one of our other coworkers was like, hey, that's one of the triggers, you're going to kick it in. He's like, oh, I didn't even think about it. And that's a good thing. You have to be in contact with the person, so that way when you don't think about it, they're like, hey, that's one of the triggers. So they got the ball rolling. He ended up getting quite a huge sum of money because he had a pretty high policy, and he finished paying off his mortgage, paid off all his debt. Mind you, this is also all money that is tax free.
Those are really important. And I know eventually we're going to make sure that we have a PowerPoint or whatever for it, but don't want to get distracted by the PowerPoint. I want them to hear what you just said. That was an amazing story. That is could be a typical
Yes.
scenario for anyone.
Mhm.
And that would be awesome to be able to, oh my God, I'm just thinking about how cool it is to have that level of love. Remember, we're talking from a love perspective. Yes, that was great. All right.
Right. And he probably had the policy I think maybe 5 years. He didn't have it long because he had just switched to it. And so this is another place, you come out of love, because if he had not had that policy, his doctor bills, I mean, because he had to have the ambulance ride, he had to be he was hospitalized for 2 weeks, and insurance only covers so much. And so the
That's
fact
right.
that he had that,
Was pretty, pretty, pretty powerful for him.
mhm,
Allowed him to focus on healing
yes. And
and
I've
not
had
focus.
stories of women who've had breast cancer. It kicks in for that too, to help pay for the hospital bills. And
Very
you can
good.
use it for whatever. It doesn't necessarily have to be, hospital bills. But if you have a terminal illness, it also kicks in, or you can get almost up to 90% of your payout. Do whatever you want.
Right. And that's another thing. I think we're using the hospital bills because has really been an issue for a lot of people where they can't pay it. We hear about it all the time. But like you said, you could use it for whatever you want. But that's just a really highly priced area where
Mhm.
those invoices, hospital invoices are a lot.
They are. I agree. And so the other product that we have is it's whole life insurance, and you got to be careful with that because that's usually more for the more affluent people, for people who are maybe looking for tax. What's the word? Help me out, Paul. I'm sorry.
Well, I was trying to think of an example of someone that we know that might benefit from whole life scenario. Who would that mostly
Yeah,
benefit?
it's mostly for like high net worth people who are
Yeah,
looking to get tax advantages off of it. And, they're wanting to
yeah,
transfer their wealth. So
yeah,
there, like I said, there's a time and place for all different policies. So that's,
absolutely.
yeah. And those who just, and, it's also for those who they don't trust themselves savings. But with that, I'm going to say it has a cash value growth, but I'm going to tell you to still be careful with that because I want to teach you to save your money on the side where it's not into a life insurance product. Because when you put your money into that cash value, when you want it, you have to borrow it. It's a
Right,
loan. It's
right,
not necessarily your money anymore. It's
right,
theirs.
right. And that's why I really like the fact that when you talk about it, you're giving the pros and cons, and that there is an opportunity for the person to really decide what's best for them based upon their goals and their dreams, what they're trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
And something, emergencies. I like that. Emergency planning.
Right. We've talked about emergency planning and having that emergency fund. And so, with having that term insurance, you're able to save your money because usually, whole life policies, they're 3 to 5 times more expensive than a
More
term.
expensive.
Hmm. So it's gonna make it a little bit more difficult if you're on that tight budget to pay for that policy. And once again, if something was to happen where you're at the point where you're like, okay, something's got to give, I can't afford it, 9 out of 10 times you're going to drop that insurance because you don't feel the benefit of it right now. It's not something that's tangible. So you're going to let it go.
Right. And you said something that's so important. Do you mind if I stop you for just a second?
Not at
And
all.
if you want to run your PowerPoint presentation, that's up to you, Noel. You know how you like to do things.
You're fine.
Okay. Yeah, we're trying to really focus in on the fact that it's a discussion, a really truthful discussion to determine which type of insurance is best for you will
Hmm.
assist you in actually paying for the insurance. I have just a memory in my mind of someone whose insurance just canceled shortly before their demise.
Mm.
And there wasn't anybody in the family, nobody that they could, speak to and say, can you help me cover this? We knew this person wasn't in the best of health. Somebody should have been on it. I should have been on it. So a lot of the things that you're talking about, I'm reviewing my scenarios and going, this is good stuff. This is good. This is important. Because if that's one place where you really need to help somebody, don't call me to buy a pair of shoes. But if you definitely need, help in that area, we can talk because I know how important it is to you and your family, and to your future. So that's how you really sparked my interest there. I hope that blessed somebody as well. Okay.
Yes. I agree with you 100% because we've seen too many stories where it, like you said, it happens right before they pass away. They just couldn't afford that premium anymore and it's just got to go. And so that's why we want to make sure you get that right product and you need to make sure you understand the product. And so a lot of times you have whole life insurance, they have that, say, that cash value, and they say it's being invested. And so you have to be careful with that as well because it sounds really good. You're like, oh, well, I'm investing and I have life insurance. A lot of the times, that rate of return for that whole life policy is only going to be about 2 to 5% annually. That's per year annually. And so it could also even be lower than that because of the administration fees. So
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
have to be careful. And there's other ways to invest your money. That's why, once again, you talk to us, you find ways to invest your money outside of that insurance policy. So you got to be careful with what you have. Reread the contract because they make it
Right.
very confusing.
Yeah.
I have to reread it sometimes when I'm looking at them and reread it again, just
Right.
because those policies can be there. They put in those big words and stuff to confuse people on purpose. If you look it up, it's on purpose. They do
Yeah.
it just so that way you don't understand what you have. And to be basically honest, that agent's getting paid. I'm gonna be completely transparent. You make more money off of selling whole life than you do term.
Of course. And I was going to, I made a little mental note to say there is definitely a benefit
Oh yeah.
to someone who can actually sell, and there's definitely a financial benefit. So that we want to make sure that people understand everything. The relationship between your financial counselor, your financial person, and yourself, it's an important relationship. You need to be able to contact them and say, I'm not really sure I understand what all this means. It's confusing. Right. And then we'll sit down and go line by line, word for word, to make sure you understand what it's going to do for you. And it may not be a good fit. And we have to have the courage to say, I'm not sure this is going to be a good fit for you.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to get your policy in hand and just get a second review.
Yes.
If you don't remember, you don't understand it, no one is going to make fun of you because you want a second review. Just say, hey, make sure I got the right. This is what I want. Make sure this is what I have.
Right. Absolutely. Because this is who I love. And I'm trying to protect them. And I want the love to be, a great amount of protection. I want them to really be protected. Good conversation, Noel. Great conversation.
Too many times we've seen it where folks just weren't aware. They just didn't know. And it's not because of ignorance or anything like that. It's just because they just didn't know. And because that person might not have explained it fully to them, where, now we have just enough for burial coverage. And they might be paying a premium for whole life where it's just enough for burial, which they could have got for term, which it could have been
right.
Quite a significant amount.
You would have had a better solution if you understood things better. And one of the things I do love about you have a great personality. So if someone's talking to you about something that is hard, you're going to make them feel better. You're going to be able to ease them, and help them to understand this is what you're trying to accomplish. That's why we're here. It's not going to work if you have to stop payments, because then,
all that sacrifice you made for the love of your family is completely gone.
All that sacrifice. So we want to be truthful, and we want you to be able to be truthful and be able to abide by your, what you can actually do. Not a fantasy, but what you can actually accomplish. Good job. Good conversation. I'm loving it.
And I'm not beating up whole life. It has its place, like I said. And sometimes that's all you can get. Sometimes we're not maybe in the best of health conditions. And sometimes that's all you can get. So that's all we're going to get you. So, But we're going to work out other options for you. So that's not all you have. Because there's other things you can do besides just, life insurance, which is going to be more in our other shows. There's those other options as well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to those shows as well. But this is good information. It's great information. All right, what else do we have?
Well, I just want to bring up, I do have a slide. So it's frequently asked questions.
Oh, I love frequently asked questions. Okay. Here we go. There we go.
Yes. So the first one is just, can life insurance pay for chronic illness, which we did discuss? So that's yes. If something chronically, or terminally happens to you, we have that product where that's that living benefits that we talked about. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and let you read the next one.
Okay. Can a best friend be a beneficiary? There has to be insurable interest.
Okay. So insurable interest, what is that to you? So I can't just come off the street and put life insurance on Paula because I like Paula. And I can't be her beneficiary because Paula likes me. It has to be insurable interest. We want to make sure that is somebody has a reason to be your beneficiary, like your loved ones. They have insurable interest because if something was to happen to you, they're going to be the ones who loves you and is going to take care of your family. So you can't just have anybody as a beneficiary.
So it can't be like a bestie.
Can't be might be a bestie. It just depends how bestie you really
are. Bestie you really are.
Oh, It's
We'd have to
protect
discuss
people.
that.
We're not going to have it's protecting the elderly person who's going to get swindled by someone putting somebody they don't really know as their beneficiary. It has to make
Absolutely.
sense.
Has to make sense. I love that. Very nice. Okay, you want me to continue or are you good?
Let's continue.
Is there an age limit to getting life insurance? It depends on the carrier and policy type. Some age limit to no limit. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yes. So, it's something you always want to get whenever you're younger is that life insurance, because if you're 20 years old, let me tell you, I've done some quotes from 20-year-old. It's ridiculous. I can get you $500,000 for like $20 a month. Don't, depending on their health, $20 a month for $500,000. So the older you get, the more expensive, of course, that policy is going to be. So if you haven't got one, you need to start now and you start thinking about it. We talked about it last time where too many times we think about getting it after the fact, after something's happened to us. But yeah, so once we start getting older, it starts costing more money. So we do in some ages. So there is some ages where it stops at 75, and then there is no age limits for some. That's when that kind of whole life policy comes in, because when you start getting older, about this time, they're the only ones that's going to probably take you in life insurance, because and then it's going to cost you quite a bit. Unless you just want a really low premium, even a really low premium, it's going to cost you a good penny. So
right.
They do have, we do take you. It's just on a case by case basis, and it's depending on how your medical history is.
Gotcha. Next, can I write life insurance on my spouse or partner? Yes, there is insurable interest.
Yes, we just talked about that earlier. They have an insurable interest. They want that. They need that beneficiary to continue on your family legacy. So yes, of course, your spouse can be a beneficiary.
That's excellent. Does life insurance pay out only at death? Accelerated, and we've talked about this a bit, or living benefits pay while living? I think that's an excellent question.
Yeah, so that's when we talked about someone who had a stroke or someone who had breast cancer, and we've seen it where one of our other agents, her client had breast cancer and she didn't tell her, and it's like a year later. She's like, "Oh yeah," she's like, "By the way, I had it. I don't have it anymore." She's like, "Well, why didn't you call and tell me?" She's like, "I didn't even think about it." And this is case by case, it is different things happen, but she called the insurance company. And even though it had already been a year had lapsed, she was still able to get her to give an accelerated benefit and pay out some money.
She was still eligible. That's great. That relationship is really vital, because the person has to say, well, let me call so-and-so to get, because we're still financial counselors. We need to really make sure we stay in tune with that person. They're important to us, to our financial success plan, our FSP.
That's right. Love that.
Is a life insurance payout tax-free? In most cases, yes, if paid directly to a beneficiary person.
Now think about it. What in life is tax-free?
Let me think. let me ponder. Not much.
Right. And I don't think we can stress this enough. This is so much love you can give your family members, your loved ones, because how many times are you going to be able to get a payout, let's say of $500,000, and get the entire $500,000 and not have to pay any taxes on it? Let that sink in. Like, this is life-changing money. And I don't want to seem morbid, because something has to happen for you to get it. But in the case something does happen, you've changed your family possibly.
And I think, if you don't mind, I want to stop there, put a pin in it.
Mm-hmm.
I no longer see it as morbid anymore, because if you've lived as long as all of us have, we've been around different kind of scenarios. It's almost like a really good essential conversation to have, and it puts you in a different mindset.
Yes.
So it's not morbid. I think it's just love. I'm going to call it love.
I love it. I love the love.
Let's love. This is just love a different way. You can love people in different ways, However, loving someone in a way, and I'm not doing anything but sharing my heart, where they're not worried about the mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not worried about the education, or they're not worried about the other debts, which may include medical bills, which may include all kinds of things, where they actually can sit down and go, oh my God, he or she really loved us.
Mm-hmm.
You can grieve properly. I mean, you can think about life a little differently. So yeah, I'll that's a
You're
great conversation.
giving your loved one a chance to grieve because they're not in that frantic mode of what am I going to do next?
What am I going to do next? And I can go all day and all night talking about the vulnerable place you're in when you have a loss of a loved one. People come in, they say things, they do things, because you're kind of like an open sore. You just draw these people, but to be in a place where you can take a breath. And so when someone asks you a question, you're like, no, I don't need to do that right now. I'm fine.
Right. And
Let me
let's
breathe.
face it, this isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
It's a matter of when. Thank you so much. Great topic. I think it's a great topic, but I think we're doing a great job of putting some love around it. And I'm going to keep saying that because that's what's needed. All right. Can I add my children to my life insurance policy? Great question. In most cases, yes, as a rider, carrier specific. Talk to me about that.
Yes. So with it's usually not too much more expensive. You usually can add your children as riders as long as they are living with you. And so depending on what you want to put on your policy, you can do as minimum as 10,000 up to, I think I want to say in some cases up to 90,000 to have a policy on your child. And so you add that on to the life insurance that you already have in existence. You don't have to go and get them their own separate policy where you're paying. And it's usually, it's a few dollars more to add your children on. It's not too terribly expensive, but in that case where something does unfortunately happen to your child, once again, I can't imagine, what grief as parents would have to go through. And we want to give them that chance to grieve because I can't imagine you would want to go back to work because you can't afford not to take any more days off. Because most businesses, what do they give you? 3 days bereavement pay?
Yeah, 3 days bereavement pay. And think about, I remember I had a sudden death in my family, and you just really struck a nerve. And I want to say this, it wasn't a child. But I remember walking back into the office, and my supervisor said to me, well, you've had enough time to grieve.
Ugh.
And I remember the feeling of that was a knife that you just stuck in a heart that's already bleeding. So to be in a situation, especially if it's your child, I don't even want to think about how my mother and my father felt, when we had a loss of my brother, younger brother. But to have some assurance so that you can say to them, no, I need some more time,
Mhm.
because I need to focus on grieving and not to have that. I can't remember what look I gave that supervisor,
I'm sure it wasn't a good one.
um, and I'm not sure what conversation I had. With that super. It was very insensitive, but I do understand business is business. But at that particular point, this is top priority, and if you set yourself up nicely, then you won't have to have that extra burden. And I carried that burden. I don't want anybody else to carry that burden.
Right.
It's
And
not
so, like I was mentioning, most places only give 3 days. If
three
something
days.
was to happen to one of your loved ones, you're going to want more than 3 days of time to grieve them. And so, what this does, it allows you time to do it a little bit longer.
Just a little bit longer. And yeah, I like that. Um, can I have multiple life insurance policies on the same person? Yes, this is called stacking.
Yes, absolutely. And so, you kind of stack them or layer them depending on what stage of life you're in. So, when you're younger, if you want to have it where you have a higher, let's say a higher premium, higher policy, a face amount, because when you're younger, you still have a high mortgage, you probably still have a little bit more debt. And so you can have it where that's going to cover that. And so as you get later on, okay, we have a little less debt going on. So let's stack it. We can, if that one's about to run out, or if it's getting, let's get another one. And it doesn't have to be as high because it's going to last longer, but I'm not going to need as much, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, we're going to come back to that. I really want to kind of look at some scenarios on that, and then maybe the next show, because I think that's quite interesting to talk about. I think it's apropos to a lot of things that are going on in the world today. You know what I'm saying? I like that
Mhm.
one. Um, do I get a refund on my insurance policy if I don't use it? This is called return of premium rider and is carrier specific.
Yes. So once again, you can get a refund and it is carrier specific, but I'm going to be completely transparent as well with that one as well. Um, I have looked into it and I have done research on it. Mind you, you will be paying a little bit more money for that because at the end you're asking for your money back. So they want to make sure they're getting some kind of, it's a business. They want to
It's
make
a
sure they're making, it's a business. They want to make sure they're making money off of you. They want to make sure they're profiting. So yeah, they do have that return of premiums, but you're going to pay a little bit more for to get that option.
That makes sense. That makes sense. We have to always remember this is also a business. It's love, but on the other hand, the people that are helping you have, show your love. It's also a business as well. Okay, can I borrow against my life insurance policy, Noel? Permanent policies offer a loan option in most cases with an interest charge.
So that's that whole life we were talking about earlier, where once again, I'm going to be completely transparent. You're paying in extra for that. And so you're paying in extra. So that's your money you're putting into that. And so, yeah, you can take a loan from your own money, but when you pay it back, there is going to be an interest charge that they're charging you. And also, if you do not pay it back
Mm-hmm.
and something happens to you, they're going to minus off that loan off of that premium that off of that face amount that they pay out. So keep that in mind.
Okay, circle that one. We're going to come back to that. I want to have an example of all of these. I think just a great scenario would just allow that to sink in a little bit more. I like what you said, the pros and cons. I love the pros and cons kind of approach. Very good, Noel. All right. Can life insurance be used to pay my estate taxes upon my death? I'm going to let you answer that.
So, yes, once again, when you're getting this money, you're getting it tax free. And so these funds are at your discretion because you're the beneficiary. So, having a life insurance policy is a good way to avoid having to pay any kind or avoid having to pay taxes and paying off. Because if you're a high net worth client and you pass away, you're going to have estate taxes. But if you have that life insurance in place, if you have a lot of taxes on your estate, guess what? That family can use their life insurance that they just got from you and pay off all those taxes. And then this way they are able to keep that estate if they want to versus having to pay so much taxes and maybe not being able to afford it and losing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so huge. So huge. Okay. This is so good. What is a waiver of premium?
So they have different policies where it's a disability waiver of premium. So if something was to happen to you while you're paying these premiums, if you were to get disabled, there is a option where they can waive those premiums for a little while.
Absolutely. And then you said and then the next one says there's also a disability income rider option as well.
Right. And there's one more thing I want to circle back to, a beneficiary. Can I make my children a beneficiary? I think we talked about spouse, but a lot of times we want to make our children our beneficiary. And I want to make sure people really think about that because if your child is a minor, a lot of times they cannot touch that money until they're of age. And so you need to make sure you're thinking about this and maybe thinking about getting some kind of trust or something. Or, I mean, because I don't know, when I was 18, I was not ready to be financially responsible for a large sum of money. So these are things you need to think about ahead of time. If you have minor children and you want to think about making them the beneficiary, you need to think about maybe putting a trust in place and putting someone in charge of that trust until your children are of age to make sure that way that money is being used wisely and properly.
That is an excellent point. I'm loving this conversation. Noel, I'm feeling better about insurance. Do we have any more questions? Okay, that's it.
Nope, that's it.
I'm feeling better about the whole insurance conversation because a lot of times we don't have the opportunity to have this back and forth. Mm-hmm. Sometimes someone is just presenting something and then they'll ask for questions, but then you really can't get down and dirty because one of the things that's happening to me is the fact that I'm broadening my horizons here. I'm understanding the importance of this love being protection.
Right.
I am also replaying some of the scenarios in my mind with my own for people that I know, families I know, and just listen to other conversations as well. So I just want to say thank you because I know it's a tough topic, but you hung in there and you did a great job. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
All right. So you know what time it is, right?
Having so much fun.
We're having so much fun, and we're going to continue this fun because now it's time for the Power of Transformation train to make its U-turn every Wednesday. It's been chugging along, been doing great. Now we have to turn it around and move ourselves back into the station. But I feel like as we are guiding the train back into the station, we are better informed with
Mhm.
love regarding a topic that we will revisit because there's more to come. But again, a lot of our financial success plan, we gloss over it because it, puts us in a different kind of emotional state. But this was great. I thought it was an absolute awesome conversation, and it was in bite-sized chunks so that we understand it. So now the
Yes.
train is here, and I'm going to pump the brakes. And I'm going to say what I always say this time, that you have to trust the process.
Yes.
So it's based on the excerpt from Romans 12 and to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And this is a great topic to allow yourself to be transformed by renewing your mind.
Absolutely.
So guess what? We're going to end this show tonight, but we want you to know that we love you and we appreciate you. If you want to get in contact with Noel, she's going to pop her email up for you. She's available to have great conversations. I'll be available in the future when I'm in training. But we just want you to know everything that we're saying is out of love, and we appreciate you. And we want you to come back next week for another discussion. Good night, everybody. Take care.
Good night.